Hi there, I'm Katie Cowan and welcome to the Creative Beam podcast, full of fun and honest conversations with creative people to inspire. For episode 37, I say hello to Annie Atkins, the much-loved graphic props designer who has the dream job we all want. Most famous for her work on Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel and Isle of Dogs, Annie actually began her career working for an advertising agency in Iceland before she found her way into television, creating props for the TV series The Tudors. It was here that she started to specialise in the field and was eventually headhunted by Wes Anderson himself. The rest, as they say, is history. Last year, Annie released her first book, Fake Love Letters, Forged Telegrams and Prison Escape Maps, Designing Graphic Props for Filmmaking, where she reveals more about her craft. And despite the pandemic, Annie continued to make props for various films throughout 2020, all from her Dublin studio. This year, we can expect to see Annie's work in Spielberg's West Side Story remake and in Anderson's The French Dispatch, so there's plenty to look forward to. Here we talk about Annie's journey to graphic prop design, about death warrants, her love of typography, and the curiosity of Jeff Goldblum. We discover what it was like to work with Wes Anderson and Steven Spielberg, and why it's okay to sometimes make mistakes. Season 2 is sponsored by Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp with 6 campuses around the world, along with its new online course. We'll be meeting one of Shillington's lecturers later in the show to find out more. Meanwhile, here's my chat with Annie. I'm joined this week by the lovely Annie Atkins. Thank you for being with us on the Creative Beam podcast.
Thank you, Katie. It's lovely to be here.
Now, I introduced you just a moment ago and we had to re-record as a prop designer, and you said that actually you were called a graphic prop designer because there's a big difference in your kind of world.
Yeah, so the film industry has quite specific job titles for different roles, and it's quite important that you stick to your own title so you don't tread on anyone else's toes. When I worked in advertising as a graphic designer, we all just called ourselves designers. But in film, there's only one designer, and that's the production designer, the person who designs the overall look of the entire movie. Right. And my role is definitely graphic designer. And the prop designers are other people entirely. They all work in the props department. But I do design props. It's just that I design specifically graphic props. So a graphic prop would be anything that has lettering on it, or anything that has an illustration on it, or anything that has some kind of pattern on it. That would be a graphic prop. So I design graphic props and also graphic set pieces, like large pieces of signage that are built into the set.
Brilliant. So before we come on to more of that, and there's plenty of things to talk about, let's start with your childhood, because you grew up in North Wales in quite a creative home, didn't you?
Yeah. I grew up kind of in a remote part of Snowdonia in North Wales. It was a little village. We lived just outside the village. Dolwyddelan, 300 people, I think. And my mum was an illustrator, my dad was a graphic designer. And they ran a small design business. They did a lot of work for things like the National Trust. They would design maps and nature trails and that kind of thing for the countryside. So it was creative, but I think all kids are pretty creative. Really. Oh,
definitely. It's a silly question to ask, really. Were you creative as a child?
Yeah,
we all were, and it's something. I guess the bigger question is, some of us lose it, don't we, as we get older?
Yeah, well, I suppose some of us just move on to different things, but I think all kids love making stuff. My kid doesn't like to draw that much, I've noticed, which I think is a bit of a shame, because me and his dad both work in film art departments. But he loves building and making stuff out of various bits and pieces.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it'll be quite a surprise. Whatever is it your son?
My son, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's just to do with the fact that maybe I don't want to draw with him very much. Like, do I take over? Am I like, no, it's not supposed to look like that? I don't know.
Really? Oh. So when you were a kid, I suppose you kind of had an inkling that you were going to go into this kind of field yourself, or
I wanted to be a graphic designer like my dad. Yeah. I remember
Wow.
he used to draw at a drawing board. And that's just how I saw myself since I was really little. I think I have a sketchbook from when I was like 5 years old or something that had my name on the front, Annie Atkins, graphic designer. So I never really had any other aspirations at all. My mum was an illustrator, but you know, I've never really been very good at drawing. I wouldn't class myself as an illustrator at all. I think my design has quite an illustrative look to it. I'm often mistaken for an illustrator, but it's not really my cup of tea. I was terrible at life drawing in college. I was just terrible at it. I felt much more comfortable working with lettering and type and
within a kind of more, structured confine.
Yeah. I don't know. I just couldn't draw people. I still can't.
Well, that is interesting to hear. And I guess, like, because you started off, can you tell us a little bit about your kind of early career? Because you worked for an ad agency in Iceland, is that right?
Yeah, I went to, I studied graphic design, or it was called visual information design, in Ravensbourne in London. And we were very much all kind of headed towards ad agencies, really. I mean, I don't really remember there being any other option. I suppose that's just where all the jobs were, all the money was.
Sure.
So I did go to an ad agency, but I went to Reykjavik in Iceland, and I got work in McCann Erickson there, the Icelandic version of McCann Erickson.
Yeah.
And I was there with them for 4 years.
Sure.
Just kind of slowly working my way up from junior to art director. And it feels like a lifetime ago now. It feels like a very different life. Like Iceland was a very different place to live in anyway.
Definitely, for a girl from a very small town in, a village in North Wales.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted, because growing up in Dolwyddelan, I just longed to live in London. I just really wanted to be in a big city.
Yeah.
And then when I got to London to study, I really didn't like it. It was just, it's way too big for me. So I thought it would be nice to live in a capital city that's really small. Reykjavik is the capital of Iceland, but it's a really, really small city. Like, it feels like a fishing town or something.
Was there a kind of, was it a love of Bjork that kind of sent you over there? Or was it purely just what opportunity popped up and you thought, yeah, I'll go for it?
No. I mean, I did love Bjork. I did. Yeah. But actually, my dad lived there in the 70s briefly. Okay. He went there for a summer. He was working in a darkroom as a photographer's assistant.
Interesting.
And I can't remember what year that was, mid-70s, I think. So he always talked about Iceland to us when we were kids. And it just sounded magic. And after I graduated in London, I was kind of stuck for something to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I thought I would go travelling. And I decided to go and visit Iceland and see what happened and see if I could get work there. And so I just turned up with my portfolio. And thankfully an agency took me under their wing.
Brilliant. So what was the kind of... the decision after 4 years there to kind of leave? What was the turning point and what did you go on to do next?
Oh, I just wasn't very good at advertising. I just, I loved it. When I arrived, I loved it. I thought it was the most sophisticated, glamorous thing I could possibly do. I remember the agency, the interior design, it was all like leather sofas and all the staff had asymmetrical haircuts, these kind of beautiful, very well-groomed Icelandic people.
Very cool.
Very cool, very chic. And And I was bowled over by it. I loved it. I thought I was the bee's knees to get a job there.
Great.
But I just wasn't great at that kind of graphic design. There's a very Scandinavian aesthetic to Icelandic design. It's very crisp and cool and clear, very much vector based, beautiful subdued color palettes. And I managed to get my head around it, and I managed to imitate it occasionally, but I wasn't really bringing anything to it. I mean, I've said earlier that I'm not an illustrator. I'm not great at drawing, but I still had a love of using paint and experimenting with hand lettering and using tactile materials, and there was none of that in the ad agency at all. It just also wasn't the aesthetic of the time. This was in the early 2000s, I suppose, 2003. And I suppose I just started to move away from it. I thought it was design that I wasn't good at, design as a whole. And I decided that I wanted to do something else. So I spoke to my boss about it. I was actually writing a blog at the time about living life in Iceland as a foreigner. And I went to speak to the creative director and said, I was feeling a little bit lost. And he said, well, I know, because I've been reading your blog. And we were able to have like a very open conversation about stuff. He was really great. And he said to me, maybe you just need to do something with a little bit more, I think he said a little bit more emotion. And I thought that I would like to go back to school to study filmmaking.
How old were you then?
Oh, I must have been 27, I suppose, 26. Yeah. So there was a master's course in a film school here in Dublin where you could do a master's degree in film production over 1 year, and most courses were over 2 years. And I kind of wanted to accelerate things. So I came here, did the master's, thinking that I would learn how to be a screenwriter, or a camera operator, or a director, or any of these roles that I had envisioned filmmakers encompassing. And of course, when I started the degree, we did a module in production design, the design of the sets, and I immediately realized that it wasn't design that I didn't like. It was just, that particular aesthetic of advertising design. That there was this whole other world of design out there that could involve paint or being slightly scruffy, which is that was my aesthetic, scruffy.
Well, let's just go back a bit, because you realised in Iceland, okay, this has been 4 good years, but this isn't for me. It's a kind of realisation you went through. Had a gentle nudge from a kind creative director, but why was it that you decided to go into this sort of course in particular? Have you always had a love of movies? Was there kind of like a thing that kind of sent you down that path?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have always had a love of movies, but no more so than anybody else, I don't think, Like I think most people like to watch a film.
Yeah.
I was interested in writing. I was interested in storytelling, and I wanted to do something creative, but that wasn't necessarily visual. That's why I kept thinking about screenwriting, because I had been so turned off doing something visual, because I had been doing something for so long, for so many years, that I wasn't particularly good at.
Basically, advertising had broken you.
Yeah. It's funny though, now that I've been working in film for years, ad agencies sometimes hire me to make bespoke pieces for them.
That's
and
great.
Now I am bringing that aesthetic to advertising. I mean, I suppose aesthetics have changed over the years, and there's a lot more kind of handmade craft popping up in commercial design.
Which is a dream.
Yeah.
So you graduated, you realised what your calling was. And was your first job after graduation working on the Tudors, the TV series?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
The module we did on production design, production designer Tom Conroy came in to teach it to us, and he was designing the Tudors at the time. They were on their second season then.
Gosh.
And my course tutor said, oh, when Tom comes in, you really need to show him your portfolio, because he'll be interested because you have this design background. So I did, and he said, well, when you're finished your course, come and speak to us and we'll arrange a job interview. And I went there thinking that, I'd apply for the position of art department assistant. But when they looked through my portfolio properly and realised I had this background in graphic design, they said, we're looking for a full-time graphic designer at the moment because we need somebody to create all the graphic pieces that would have appeared in the royal court in the 16th century, 15th century, whatever it was. So that was exciting. I just was clueless. I had no idea what kind of graphic design appeared in the royal court, coming from a background in advertising where you make logos and magazine spreads and web design and whatever else we were doing. It was incomprehensible to me that Henry VIII would need any of these things.
Oh, I bet it was wonderful. Just being, completely turned upside down and propelled into this completely new world where I suppose, you could kind of make a lot of it up and just be so creative.
Yeah. I mean, it was being thrown headfirst into things because the things that Henry VIII needed in his royal court, graphics-wise, were like royal scrolls, stained glass, shield designs, inscriptions for swords. I hadn't done any of these things before, but it had been something that I'd wanted to do. I wanted to make handcrafted things. I just didn't know. I didn't know how to start, really. I had great support there, though. The production designer, Tom, he was very hands-on, and he was very into us making things ourselves. And the model making department were great. They really taught me how to work with paper, different paper types, how to age paper, how to work with wax.
How do you age paper? Is it sort of old tea bags and... Yeah, it's exactly kind of like we used to do when we were kids and we were making treasure maps. Remember that?
It's exactly like that. It really is. I found a lot of the time that when I was stuck on how to make something, I was really reaching back into my childhood and remembering the things that I'd have made with my mum in the kitchen, papier-mâché and treasure maps and whatever else.
Oh, great. I'm so jealous. This sounds absolutely wonderful. So you get to work with people and learn from them. But a lot of the time, I guess, you're really kind of having to, there's beauty in obviously the work that you produce, but the process must just be so fascinating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I kind of sometimes wish I could go back and relive it all because I think I was just so frightened that whole first season on the Tudors that I wasn't really able to enjoy it properly.
Yeah.
It's not just the making of things, but it's also the atmosphere, like working on a film set, suddenly finding yourself surrounded by actors and directors and people running around with walkie-talkies. It was thrilling. It was really, really thrilling, but also completely bewildering.
I bet. Gosh. I mean, especially, amongst all these kind of people that you would have seen on television and suddenly sort of, standing next to them having a cup of tea, maybe.
I know. I still feel like that, to be honest. I've never been able to relax around the cast. Because, as a graphic designer, you don't really work on set. You work in a little office next door to the set or whatever.
Sure.
Whereas some of my friends working in film would be assistant directors or standby art directors or whatever. So they spend a lot of time on set with the cast and they're so comfortable with them, they're just chatting away to these famous people and having cups of tea with them and stuff. And I just think I could never be like that, ever. As soon as an actor walks past my door, I go bright red. I don't know. There's just something about them. They're so effortlessly confident and so they're all so beautiful. Each one is more beautiful than the next.
They're like from another planet, some of them, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They're aliens, definitely.
If I see someone famous in the street, I always just sort of, turn into this sort of bumbling dork. I'm like, and I don't say anything because not that I'm saying anybody who has the guts to go up to someone and say, "Oh, I love your work." I just don't do it because I just think, "Oh, no, that's too much for me," and I don't want to disturb them. But I will give them a very courteous nod or a little grin, just to show them that I appreciate their work.
Yeah, I never talk to them ever. Sometimes they'll come in. Yeah, I'll never approach an actor on set, never ever.
Oh gosh.
But sometimes they do a little tour of the art department. They want to see how things are being made or something, and I find that if they come in to my room, then I'm happy to show them the process and the stuff. Another thing is, I suppose the only time I ever really have to work with them directly is when, like, if they have to use like an old feather quill or something in shot, if they're doing their own handwriting, they'll sometimes need a little crash course. So then we teach them how to use the dipping pen and the ink and stuff.
But how do you know how to do that?
Oh, well, the first time I had to teach an actor that, I actually didn't know how to do it. It was Henry Cavill. He was playing one of the characters in The Tudors, and he came up to the art department to learn how to use the feather quill, and I was still trying to wrap my head around it at the time as well. And I think the problem was the quill was blunt.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, in hindsight, looking back. But, we
Is
just
it one of those moments where you just cringe and you think, oh, God?
Yeah. I didn't really have a clue what I was doing, Oh, God.
Sorry to bring up. I can't see you right now, but I can imagine your cheeks are flushing a little bit. But we all have those moments, and we all look back and go, God, if only I knew what I know now, I could have done things a bit better.
The second season of The Tudors that I did was much easier. So that was the 4th season.
Right.
Because I had learned so much in my first season. And then we had another season to do. And I think that's a really great way to work in film, is to get on a TV series.
Yeah.
Because your first show, you'll have to learn all these different methods and everything that you're creating. And then you can do a second season and you have a lot of stuff that you can just pull out of your back pocket.
Oh, that's great.
It's a little bit more relaxing than like constant new film scripts.
And then you can just sort of really enjoy the process and get into it. But I guess you would have some actors wanting to sort of really kind of get into everything that's going on set to really kind of bring their characters to life. So has there ever been an actor that you've worked with, and we will talk more about your kind of more recent work in a minute, but has there ever been an actor where you were like, wow, they really are going into such detail here, and I better sort of like make sure they feel comfortable with all these things I'm creating?
You sometimes hear from the cast about the graphics. Usually it's the prop master and the set decorator and the production designer and the director that you're trying to please. But every so often a cast member will be quite particular about their props.
Right.
Which I think is fair enough. I remember we made a little notebook for Ray Fiennes' character in the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
And it didn't have lined pages. We kind of developed a handwriting style for him. And he said, like, because his character was such a particular character, he was a complete perfectionist about the hotel, that the notebook should really have lined pages. And that was fine. We got radioed up from the costume fitting by the prop master, and we remade it and sent it back down, and it was approved. But I remember using this little anecdote as an example of the level of detail we go into, because it's probably only Ray Fiennes that's ever going to see that. The camera's never really going to get close enough to the notebook to pick up on that.
Sure.
But in the art department, we're not really always designing directly for the cinema audience. Like most of the time, I think we're really designing for the cast and the directors, because we're trying to create like a fully realized world for them to walk into in the morning, to help them stay in character, to help them understand the period more, to help them understand the way things worked. in such a time or such a place. So I just thought it was a really good example, but then I think I was misquoted once, and I think the idea was that I was trying to insinuate that like Ray Fiennes was some kind of diva or something, and that's not what I meant at all.
For goodness sake, no.
Yeah, because it's all of our jobs to make sure that these things are properly authentic, which I think is surprising to people, because I suppose you just take for granted what you see on the screen and you think maybe we don't go into as much detail as we do.
Oh, completely. The level of detail in Wes Anderson films as well. I mean, the Grand Budapest Hotel was your first break into film, wasn't it?
I had done a feature before that, but it was animated feature, so it's a slightly different process.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I'd done a lot of TV shows, live action TV shows, mostly period dramas, historical dramas. And I think Wes was actually looking for somebody who had a lot of very realistic period work in the portfolio. I'd done a TV show about the building of the Titanic. So that would have been set around 1912?
Gosh, I bet that was a fascinating delve into history.
Yeah, it really was. Especially because before I did that, everything I'd done was like pre-16th century.
Right.
So then doing something for the turn of the 20th century was really interesting because they had printing presses and
of course,
whatever other modern technology for the time.
And you probably had more to work with as well. So it wasn't all sort of, having to rely on guesses, I guess.
Yeah, there was a lot of reference material that we could source and copy, like real newspapers from the time, a lot of letterpress printing, posters, that kind of thing. Yeah, I really reveled in it. I loved it. I mean, I don't think the TV show ever went anywhere. I don't think it was a particularly good show, but it didn't matter to me. I just loved being able to make all this stuff. And I definitely tell my workshop students that today, don't worry about... When you're starting out, don't worry about the quality of the script. Think about the things that you're making and make the absolute best things possible that you can.
And now for a little break to get some creative tips from Jack Trotman, a designer and artist based in London who's also a lecturer at Shillington in the capital. As Shillington is our sponsor for Season 2 of the Creative Beam podcast, I thought it would be good to get some helpful advice from the very people who work for the original graphic design bootcamp. So I asked Jack, what advice would you give to designers starting out?
So I honestly think that a good designer is a happy one. So make sure you're doing design that makes you happy. I really think that right now, there's thousands of people who need effective design. Think of things like social enterprise, like charities, even like local businesses as well. So if you're just starting out, just offer your help. Create some positive work and just really enjoy the freedom that will give you. Yeah, I think you'll really benefit from that.
To find out more about studying graphic design in as little as 3 months online or at one of Shillington's 6 campuses around the world, visit shillingtoneducation.com. Now, back to Annie. That's a really good bit of advice, actually, because, not all things get seen, do they, and make light of day. So as long as you've got that opportunity to be creative and learn something. Yeah,
absolutely. And those were the things that I showed Wes Anderson, when I was being interviewed for that job.
Was he on the panel of the interviewers?
Well, it was all done by email because I was here in Dublin and they were at that stage... I think they were already in Germany.
Oh, right.
I just got a phone call one day from his producer, Molly, asking if I would be prepared to go to Germany for a movie and if I had any examples of period graphic prop making.
Oh, my goodness.
That I could
Did you sort of go, let me think about it?
Well, I didn't because it was hugely exciting. I was immediately on board, but I had never considered that I would go away for a film before. I thought all my work would be done locally here in Dublin.
Yeah.
Because we make a fair few things here,
Yes. You do. It's a very creative city, and not many people realise it. You know, if they didn't already know, it's got a huge sort of plays a huge part in the film industry as well, doesn't it, Dublin?
Yeah, we've got a good film industry. I think there's a good tax break. That's why, and we also
does help.
Yeah, we also have good locations, and we have quite a big skill set for period drama.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. But the idea of going to Germany, I didn't even know where it was. I think I remember Molly saying that the film was set in the Alps between the two wars, and that's all I knew about it at the time.
Great.
And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I sent in some pieces, and then I waited to hear back from them. And I think that was like on the Wednesday or something, and by the following Tuesday I was in Berlin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was an amazing kind of pivot in your career, because you'd already had so much success, but then to sort of go and work for Wes Anderson on the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is, we all know, is a beautiful film and full of all the detail and compositions and colour that we've come to love from Anderson. But what was your exact role in that film, and how did you go about creating this imaginary world?
So I was the lead graphic designer, and there was a little team of 4 of us. I had a supporting graphic designer, Liliana Lumbrieve, who was absolutely brilliant. And we had 2 PAs. And I suppose, I just approached it the same way I would any of the TV shows I'd been working on. You start with the script, break it down, write a list of everything that you think is going to be a graphic. Long list. It was 20 pages long, I think.
Good grief.
And then took a lot of direction from Wes, like definitely, he really loves looking at references. We found a lot of historical references from Eastern Europe, and we'd show him like maybe 10, 15 different pieces of found items, and he'd pick out the bits that he liked, and just started making stuff.
What was the first encounter with him like?
It was...
Had you sort of like, given all the experience you'd had up until that point, you got used to all these kind of celebrities wandering around, or was it quite a sort of moment for you?
Yeah, I suppose the thing with Wes is he's really just focused on the design of any given piece at any given time, and so am I. So are all of us in our roles. So you just immediately start talking about the prop at hand, I suppose I found that quite easy in a way, because I was very comfortable talking about lettering styles and period graphics. Even though I hadn't done a feature film, a live action one before, I had so much experience at that point in period TV drama. I was very quick to understand the importance of research. Like, I know that, I suppose the thing with Wes Anderson movies is that, and the special thing about them is that he does take, for his period pieces, he does take from real life, and he takes from real historical references, but then he brings his own thing to it as well. Yeah. So it was finding that balance between the real pieces and Wes's own particular aesthetic. And I loved that. I absolutely loved that. Sometimes people ask me, was it difficult giving up my own personal style to make things for Wes Anderson? But I would say no, not at all, because I never have my own personal style when I'm working on a movie. I'm always working to references. I'm always working to the script and to the period and to the place that we're making for. So I actually found that quite easy.
Yeah, fascinating collaboration as well. And you even had to design newspapers for the Grand Budapest. That is it true? Wes wrote all the stories within them.
Oh yeah, I remember that, because it's often a bit of a problem, where you're going to get the content from, because we often have to make newspapers for movies. There isn't a movie in the world that hasn't been made without a character reading some headline about plot point in the movie, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a question of where you get the content from. Like sometimes the art department assistant will write it. Sometimes, you know, I've worked with prop masters, American prop masters who will write this stuff. Sometimes you have to write the stuff yourself. And I remember asking Adam, the production designer, oh, what about the content for the newspapers? And he said, oh, don't worry about that. Wes will write that. And I thought, really? Like, he's
That's
directing
amazing.
a movie. Like, is he really going to have time to write the content for this? And he did, you know. He said, I remember him asking about word counts. You know, have I hit my word count on this yet? How much more do you need? Yeah, there's some lovely articles on the front page of the Transalpine Yodel that are just so quintessentially Wes.
Oh, I have to look into that because I just never realised until I started sort of researching about your career, Annie. And I think Wes is probably somebody that would definitely see graphic design as very important in a film. But does the industry in general see it that way?
I think the production designers do. You know, it's an integral part of the design. But as far as like the overall bigger machinery of filmmaking works, we're probably closer to the bottom of the food chain than other departments, you know.
That's such a shame.
I think the thing about filmmaking, though, is like it's almost like we work like an army. You know, we all have our own little individual job to do, and you're a cog in the wheel, a wheel in the cog.
Sure.
And it's when you take care of the little details in your role, that's when the whole machine works properly, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have any favourites in your in the Grand Budapest? You know, looking back, was it the newspapers or was it something else?
It wasn't the newspapers. I just remember there was just so many of them. Like, we had to create this entire national press for a fictitious country. So that was just quite labour intensive. What was my favourite graphic to do? Oh, well, the Mendel's box was a joy because it became such an icon for the movie later on. And it was just so pretty, you know, like you don't...
Very much.
Most of the work we make is, you know, it's generally like piles of paperwork for someone's desk or quite boring office documents or whatever. So if you get an opportunity to make something like this beautiful pink patisserie box, that's always a treat. Yeah. I also really liked the pink book that opens the movie because it's quite unusual to make a prop that has the movie's name on the front.
Yeah, and you have to come up with names for other things as well. And did I read that it's a common trick to avoid any legal issues by taking from the crew members?
On a Wes Anderson film, he'll usually give all the names for everything because everything really needs to fit into that world. But on other movies, we often use crew names. Like gravestones. Cemeteries are always full of gravestones. We usually use crew names for the gravestones. Bylines in newspapers. Yeah, you can actually look out for names in a movie and then read the crew list as it rolls up at the end, and you'll spot similarities.
All these things you just don't realise until you start like looking under the hood, I suppose. And did you make any mistakes on that film, or things that you just kind of, oh gosh, still think about now?
We made loads of mistakes on that film. I make loads of mistakes on any film. Like, there's so much, you're really under a lot of time pressure, and you're really firing out a lot of stuff. I tend not to worry too much, though, at this point. I mean, I think I used to worry a lot at the beginning of my career, but now I don't worry. I mean, mistakes can just be fixed. I think that really helped as well when I was working with an American crew. Like, my first American job was Grand Budapest, and there were a lot of American crew on it, and they had a really great attitude towards things, which I always found really reassuring. Like, they're very professional and they're very positive.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, their attitude is like, okay, like, you know, how can we fix this? And I really appreciated that, and I've tried to adopt that myself now as well. So, for example, like the Mendel's patisserie box, there was a spelling mistake in the word patisserie, because it was all hand drawn, you know, like we weren't really using fonts, and because we weren't using fonts, we weren't using spell checkers. So I've just got it wrong. And Wes Anderson noticed it and just shot me over an email about it, and I was mortified, you know, because I'm quite proud about my spelling and grammar. But the attitude was very much like, you know, it doesn't matter, we'll just fix it. We'd shot hundreds of boxes at that point, though. I think there was a scene where Agatha and Zero fall into a big pile of them. And so in post-production, we had to fix any that were in close-up. So, I mean, I think it's quite time-consuming to do that kind of work. So, you know, it wasn't my best moment. But it was fixed.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Positive mindset. And I suppose when you're working on something as big as a movie, it's inevitable that there's going to be things that go wrong. Do you like watching movies, and are you one of these people that likes to sort of see the little kind of mistakes that other people might not notice, you know, a bit like Amelie?
I do look out for mistakes. Like, I find it quite difficult if I'm watching a period drama not to be quite critical of the graphics. But, you know, like, I've made so many of my own mistakes, I really need to keep my nose out of it. So I can relax more when I'm watching something contemporary, because I never work on contemporary pieces. And I tend not to notice the graphics at all in those.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite period that you work in, or, you know,
I'm just working now on a Victorian piece, and I've done Victorian eras a few times now, and I do like it. I think because I'm quite familiar with it, and also because there's a lot of hand lettering, which I love. Shopfront signage is one of my favourite things to draw.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of, I suppose, inspiration from Dublin itself, from that period. I really like. I take a lot of pictures on my walk into my office, and then I kind of draw up similar things that day. Yeah, it's good. Oh, great.
I always tell my students to look out for ghost signs in anywhere they go.
Oh, ghost signs are wonderful. We've got so many around here in South Manchester. I love picking those out and taking pictures. Yeah. It's just a sort of little nod to the past that, you know, this kind of art form, I guess, that we just take for granted and in a lot of cases isn't around anymore on our streets. It's really sad. Yeah,
I read a story recently about a luxury apartment complex that's been built recently in London somewhere, and they've had sign painters paint up fake ghost signs to make the area more appealing to the young hipster community. No. And I was reading it thinking, oh, that's disgusting. That's terrible. But I was also thinking, I wish I could have designed those.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you should maybe, if you can sell your soul a little, you could consider approaching some of the developers in Dublin, because I hear Dublin's growing, you know, very fast and has buildings popping up everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it. I just feel like everybody would hate it so much. Like fake ghost signs, you know, where's the line?
Yeah, exactly. So what did you learn from that experience on that, you know, that film with Wes Anderson? What did you learn from him, and what did you take with you that you now apply in everything you do today?
Yeah, I think I took a lot from it. I really, like, Wes will really, really develop every single piece that we make. So he really pushes things. Like, he really likes to experiment, and I find that I do that now too. You know, like, I'll do like maybe 20 iterations of any piece that I make, whereas before I would have got to a point with any design and thought, that's fine now, that's done. And I don't really think that anymore. I always like to come back to it and keep improving it. Definitely, I think that's something that he's given me.
That's great.
And also just learning how to work with a big American crew, you know, because after that I went on to work on various other US movies. And I think that attitude that the American filmmakers have, like I like to think I've adopted a little bit of it anyway.
Well, you do sound very relaxed, given everything that's going on in the world at the moment, and to have found your kind of passion, your craft, is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. Do you, when you sort of work on these other kind of films, is it all on location now, or do you do some of it based in Dublin? I suppose COVID-19's changed things a lot.
I do everything from my studio here in Dublin now, and I have done for years actually, because I had a baby in 2016 when I was on Isle of Dogs,
right?
Because I remember the producers called me up and said, "Oh, you know, we're just wondering what the next year looks like for you, and if you'd be able to work on Isle of Dogs with us." And I said, "Well, actually, I'm going to be having a baby this year." And they were brilliant. They said, "Well, that's fine. You know, you just work until that happens and then see how it goes." So that was great. But it meant that I just changed my working methods completely, because I used to always go to the location and work on site with the art department, but now I do everything from my studio.
That's great.
Good
work-life balance.
It was good at first. You know, there just wasn't as many opportunities for me, because graphic designers generally have to be near, you know, like kind of within yelling distance of the of the people on the higher pay grades. But because of COVID, now everything's moving more towards remote work, which is, you know, one plus of everything, because it means that, like, you know, I have more offers now on different movies shooting around the world because they don't have the same restrictions.
So it opens things up. But I guess there's moments where you miss that kind of ferocity, that kind of, you know, drama of being on a film set. I have rose-tinted glasses about it. Yeah, like sometimes, because my partner works in the art department as well, and he's often, you know, off places and on set and stuff. And I do sometimes think, oh yeah, I miss that kind of circus-like atmosphere, you know, and all the camaraderie and all the drama. And he's like, no, you don't. because it is really, it can be really dramatic, and it can be quite distracting. And as it is, I sit in my beautiful little studio with my soft music playing, and I can just get my head down and draw and concentrate on the thing that I love, which is creating graphic design. So I don't know. Yeah. Well, Isle of Dogs is another thing that's completely different and kind of giving you a completely different experience. And it's not the kind of period, the kind of period that you would kind of work in. What was that like? How did you find that experience?
I loved it. I found it great. It's funny because people often ask me, oh, do you like futurism at all? Or, like, do you like science fiction? I'm always like, no, I would never do futurism. But actually, Isle of Dogs was futurism in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember the script said that it was set 20 years in the future, but it wasn't clear when the present was.
No.
You know, which is so Wes.
Very much.
And a lot of the references we were collecting were like Japanese references from the 1970s. So it had that kind of lovely science fiction look that's almost like 1970s design, but it's also borrows from the future as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. But because it was Wes Anderson, you know, I didn't really have to think too much, because he was really directing the graphic design so closely. I felt like it was quite clear. Like he's very clear about how things should be. Like, he's not prescriptive, and he does like to experiment, but you kind of know where you are with him most of the time. Whereas other directors can be very, very vague, you know.
Oh God, that's a creative's worst nightmare, isn't it? Just please give me some guidance, something, anything.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than like, it's not really working, but I don't know what I want. But you know, you try and guess what I want. Okay.
Make it pop.
You make it pop. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so you wrote a beautiful book which was released last year, wasn't it? At the start of last year.
Yeah.
Fake love letters, forged telegrams, prison escapes, designing graphic props for filmmaking. And it was received very well. You are considered a legend in the creative community. Obviously, our lovely creative lot are all into Wes Anderson and would turn their noses up at fake ghost signs and all the rest of it. We're quite all similar in that respect, aren't we? But
Yeah.
You were sharing your kind of experiences so far and going into all the detail, and that is just for any graphic designer out there who's hoping to follow in your footsteps. It was just such a wonderful insight into how you work and your career so far, I guess.
Yeah, thanks. It was released last year, and I was a little bit worried because, with the pandemic and everything, like we couldn't do the book tour and everything was cancelled. But I found that people were at home and they wanted to read, so I did get quite a lot of nice feedback about the book. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to write the book in the first place was because so many of my workshop students, their big question was, what's it like? What's it like to work in film? What's it like to work on a film set? What's it like to make these pieces? And I wanted to answer that question rather than create a textbook of, diagrams. Like, now you just stick the paper in the tea for 2 minutes. I wanted to include some backstories and some little snippets of life working in filmmaking.
Definitely. Yeah. With a foreword from Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I know.
How did that come about? I mean, that's like a dream come true.
Oh, well, actually, he was one of the actors who would show an interest in props, and he came up to the art department when we were on Grand Budapest. And actually, I found him very easy to talk to. He's so lovely. He came around with the mayor of the local town, and they wanted to know, I think at that point we were ironing all our paper dry because it was due down on the set and we were really in a rush. So we didn't stop ironing, but we gave him a little demonstration about tea staining. And
did he sort of walk into the room and go, all this wonderfulness, all this amazing, ooh.
Yeah, he did, yeah. And then it was my editor who got in touch with him about the foreword for the book and asked if he'd like to contribute something. And he's just such a good sport, He said yes immediately, and he sent us this foreword, and then we said, it would be lovely if we could recreate it as a kind of 1950s letter, as if you had sent a typed letter in. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter how old we get, does it? But for being the daughter of a graphic designer and an artist, your parents must have been so proud when they knew that you were sort of working on these, wonderful, film sets. I know there was some sad news earlier last year, which we don't have to talk about, but...
oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because your mum hadn't been well for a while, had she?
Yeah, my mum, around the time that I was actually on my way to Wales to launch the book there, and my mum was quite suddenly taken ill. Actually, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she died in March.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was all very quick and quite tough. But I was able to be with her, which I'm still so grateful for today, because it was really just right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So she died on the 17th of March, and that was the night that the very first restrictions came into play in the UK.
Good grief.
So, if it had been any later, we would all have been in lockdown and I wouldn't have been allowed into the hospice at all. So, I'm grateful for that. She was very proud.
Did she know she didn't have long? And
she seemed to know that she had less time than the doctors thought, which was strange, because they kept saying, we think it will be weeks. And I remember me and my dad trying to deduce exactly what that meant. And we were like, well, they must mean 8 weeks then, because if it was more than 8 weeks, they'd say months.
Yeah.
And my mum was like, I want to go to the hospice. And I remember the doctor saying to her, well, you're not really ready to go to the hospice from the hospital, you know. And my mum was like, no, that's where I want to go. I want to be comfortable.
Gosh,
yeah.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But after all that kind of happened, you know, with the pandemic and everything, you probably, by the looks of some of the work that you produced last year, found comfort in your work and keeping yourself busy. You even found the time to create a series of fake public health service posters to lift everybody's spirits at a time when you were probably going through, you know, hell, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the really difficult things about it, like, was that we couldn't have a funeral, and we still haven't had a funeral, which I find quite hard to contend with. So one of the things that I wanted to do when we were in lockdown last summer was kind of make something in memory of my mum. So I made a series of these fake public health service posters. And people on Instagram were sending me tips on how to get through a lockdown in good spirits. Like, we wanted to keep it positive.
Yes.
And that was really nice because there was a real feeling of community. And, you know, because lockdown is quite isolating and it felt like we were all doing something together. I got hundreds of messages on Instagram. And we made posters, screen printed them with damn fine prints, lovely screen printers here in Dublin. And we sent all the proceeds to St David's Hospice in North Wales, who had looked after my mum.
Yeah.
And yeah, that felt good. It felt productive. It felt like I was doing something.
It was lovely little kind of phrases like reread your favourite book, you know, all the kind of things that you know, all the very simple things that bring us happiness and joy that we might have forgotten about in previous years.
Yeah, I think my favourite was now is not the time to text your ex.
I was just looking at that one now, just looking through the different... Yeah, that is very true. Don't text your ex.
Yeah, not in lockdown.
No. And make your bed and dress for dinner. And we're still sort of remembering these things now because we're in 2021 now. And I suppose we're coming up to, you know, a year since this all began, and we're sort of still where we are. I don't know what it feels like in Dublin, but yeah.
Oh God, I just feel like last year I felt kind of okay about lockdown, extended lockdowns. I don't know, like I was spending a lot of time with my kid. You know, we were having a lot of family time. I needed a rest. I needed a break, especially after losing my mum. Like, I didn't want to go on book tour. I didn't want to go off and work on big projects and stuff. So in a way, I was very grateful for it. Whereas moving into this year now, I'm just like, oh God, not another year. So I don't know. I'm just so glad that we're going into this year with the vaccine.
Definitely. I think it would be
very different if we didn't have that, even psychologically.
Yes. There's a lot to hold on to. Let's try and cheer this conversation up and look at what you're sort of working on currently, because you're still, you know, full steam ahead with so many different movies and series. Have you finished your work on Spielberg's West Side Story remake?
Yes, that seems a long time ago now.
I bet.
It's just it hasn't been released yet. So I think that was supposed to have been released before Christmas. But...
Yes, I think it was, but they're planning it for this year now at some point, probably when things return to normal. I don't know.
Everything's getting pushed back. Like I think it's very disheartening to make a movie and then not getting a proper release in the cinemas. So I think they'd all rather just wait. You know, the last Wes Anderson movie I worked on as well, The French Dispatch. I don't know when that's scheduled for. But
so what was Spielberg like to work with in contrast to Anderson?
Well, completely different in that I didn't talk to him at all. So with Wes Anderson, I would be in touch like every single day, multiple times a day. But Spielberg gave very little direct direction to graphics, you know, unless it was really like a hero prop. I think newspaper headlines, there was some interaction over those.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he was mostly with the actors and the
Sure.
drama and the script, and the art department stuff was really directed by the production designer.
Did you look at sort of things that had been made in the past, the original film from, was it the 60s? Or did you, as part of your process, do you avoid all that so you sort of start fresh and come at it from a completely different perspective?
Oh, do you know what? Any movie I work on, I mean, I can't talk about West Side Story specifically because it hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
But any movie I work on, whether it's Wes Anderson or a costume drama or an animated film, I find I have the same process, and that is that I look at real historical references. Rather than other versions of the movie or whatever else it is. Like I feel like we always go through that process. We take something real from history and we pick apart that design style, try and understand how they would have made it at the time, and then we recreate it in line with the script at hand. And I think that's true whether you're working on like a fantasy children's adventure or you're working on like a really super realistic period drama. It's funny, but yeah, the process is always the same.
And do you work quite closely with the writers?
No. I very rarely would speak to a writer. Sometimes, like I did a movie called Wonderstruck a few years ago, which was based on a graphic novel, and the screenwriter, I think it was adapted by the person who wrote the graphic novel, and he supplied the content for the newspaper articles and the magazine articles. So sometimes you'll have a bit of contact with them, but not usually.
So is there a project that you haven't worked on yet, Annie, that you consider a dream, or have all your dreams come true? Because I mean, your CV is just so impressive. But is there something that you've not yet worked on that you think, oh yeah, I could really sink my teeth into that?
No, I feel like I've been so lucky. Like Wes Anderson, I feel so lucky about because of the whole design aesthetic and how much of a character he makes out of graphic design, which is a real treat. Spielberg was just such a treat because I loved his movies as a kid. I absolutely adored all those family adventure movies that he either directed or inspired. So now I don't really think about specific directors or projects. I really just think about periods. So if I get a phone call and somebody says, oh, it's mid-century, I love mid-century stuff as well, like I'll jump on it. And if somebody says it's Victorian or Georgian, I'll jump on that as well. So the only things I'm not really interested in are like contemporary things or science fiction. Like that's not really my cup of tea. But
so we can't expect any kind of, dramas that you'll be involved in set in space 200 years from now.
No,
not
I
even
did do one.
Not even if Wes Anderson said, right, I'm doing this amazing sci-fi thing. It's going to be set in the future. Although he wouldn't, would he? He wouldn't at all.
He might, yeah. I don't know what he's going to do next. Yeah, it would be totally different if it was him. That would be different, yeah. But not kind of like the big Hollywood blockbuster things. That wouldn't be my cup of tea.
So as you look back on your career so far, and I think it's a nice way to wrap this up, what kind of have been the highlights and I suppose the biggest lessons that you take with you now into 2021?
Well, I think Grand Budapest will always be the biggest highlight. Sometimes people ask me like, oh, do you get fed up talking about it? But I don't at all. I don't mind. It's like it was such a huge opportunity, and it really kickstarted my career in so many different ways. And it's just like, I don't think I'll ever work on a film again that pays so much attention to graphic design and is also held so dear in so many people's hearts.
Yeah.
And it has a real special place in my heart.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely hearing about your story so far, Annie, and we look forward to seeing what you get up to next.
Thank you so much, Katie. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Creative Boom podcast. I am your humble host, Katie Cowan. Thanks also to our sponsor Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp that's helped students all over the world achieve award-winning portfolios and land incredible jobs in as little as 3 months. To find out more, go to shillingtoneducation.com. To listen or subscribe to the Creative Boom podcast, visit creativeboom.com/podcast. It's as simple as that. Don't forget to leave us a review if you're enjoying the show. Join me next time when I'll be speaking to the unstoppable creative director and artist, Amrit Singh.